Hi students. So today our lecture topic is medical nutrition regime of bariatric surgery. So as we are familiar or non-familiar with the term bariatric surgery or bariatric surgery, what is bariatric surgery is all about? So in very brief, if I want to say that bariatric surgery works by either reducing the volume of the food intake by restricting the size of stomach, that is restrictive, or bypassing the proximal small intestine, malabsorptive, or both hybrid. So this is basically a surgical procedure where surgery began with the malabsorptive procedure such as the jejunal bypass that soon fell into disrepute due to the severe malabsorption and malnutrition it induced. So basically the bariatric surgery, if we talk about, there are uh, scientifically, if we say, that is a gastric bypass surgery, or the lot of surgery related to the gastrointestinal tract. So again, I'm Aditya Khan, clinical nutritionist and diabetes educator, and also certified bariatric surgery nutritionist, guest faculty of KPC School of Nutrition, KPC Medical College and Hospital. So let the ball roll. Origin Bari, our field is bariatric surgery. So what Bari means weight or pressure in ancient and modern Greek. However, Bari denotes obese in biblical Hebrew and healthy in modern Hebrew. So yes, it's related to the body weight. So if body weight is too high, if body weight is too high means it's very vague term. If the BMI is high, if BMI is more than 40, 40, 35, in that cases, that only we can think about bariatric surgery. Not below 35, BMI should be 35 to 40. In that case, 40 is the cutoff BMI for the bariatric surgery, and 35 with other comorbidities like diabetes, cardiovascular this problem. So this is an etiology if we want to discuss about bariatric. This is a branch of medicine that deals with the causes, prevention, and treatment of obesity. Because sometime they're not only the lifestyle what we have discussed, but also the other clinical features, hormone, metabolism, genetic factors, lot of factors are depends on the obesity. So some people are fed up with the diet. Okay, it's not working with the medical nutrition diet, or patient is non-compliant, not following the diet given by the dietitian. So that will lead to you know zero results. So that's why treatment of obesity is very important. If I define the bariatric surgery or weight loss surgery refers to surgery usually performed in patients with a body mass index BMI of 40 kg per meter square or greater, and those with a BMI between 35 and 40 kg per meter square and a major medical comorbidity in order to. The most common types of bariatric surgery, that is gastrectomy. Gastrectomy is the most common bariatric surgery. Some gastrectomy, vertical slit gastrectomy, this is all example. In which portion all of stomach is removed. It typically includes removing the remove. So basically, all of the parts of the stomach is the removed. This is called the gastrectomy. If we talk about sleeve gastrectomy, it's a surgical weight loss procedure. Students, you have to see the picture. You have to see the picture where it's written surgical weight loss procedure in which the stomach is reduced to about 25% of its original size by surgical removal of a large portion of the stomach along the greater curvature. The result is sleeve or tube-like structure, the same like this picture, right-sided picture. Now we're talking about gastroenterostomy or gastrojejunostomy, in which stomach is surgically connected directly to small intestine about 2 feet beyond the pylorus. Thus, bypassing the pylorus, doctors sometimes perform the operation in people with cancer or of the stomach. That is used to call gastroenterostomy or gastrojejunostomical surgery. So these are the picture where the before surgery stomach is there, and also the after surgery stomach. There is a pouch has been used after the surgery and is to be bypassed. Now we'll talk about Roux-en-Y gastric bypass surgery. So Roux-en-Y gastric bypass surgery, or RYGB in abbreviation, is realized the principle of the creating food restriction by creating a micropouch at the fundus with a maximum capacity of 30 to 50 ml. Severe restriction. This is then anastomosed with a been formed by a division at 60 to 80 centimeter from duodenal flexure. The procedure works on the principle of severe restriction and mild form of related comorbidities. Due to the diversionary nature of the procedure, there is a bypass of the duodenum and the proximal jejunal, which result in reduced absorption of many nutrients. Internal hernias and marginal ulcers are potential complications of the procedure. The latter is seen more in smokers, basically. So it is Roux-en-Y surgery, where it creates a stomach pouch that's smaller than the entire stomach. Now we'll talk about the vagotomy. What is vagotomy? In which the nerves to your stomach are cut in order to lower levels of the acid manufactured by stomach. If the nerve is cut down, then definitely lower levels of acid manufactured by stomach, because we know stomach nature is acid. Stomach nature is basically acid, pH less than 7. Then other also surgery is there, that is biliopancreatic diversion, duodenal switch, adjustable gastric band, mini gastric bypass, lot of other surgical also there. And now we're talking about the fundoplication. What is fundoplication? Which is an operation sometimes performed on people with GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. It involves wrapping the upper portion of stomach around the lower esophagus to apply pressure that reduces the reflux of gastric contents into the esophagus. These are fundoplications basically. So what are the objectives? What are the criteria of the surgery? So objective is the basically we have to evaluate of the pre-surgical evolution, that is very important. Summarize pre-surgical nutrition goals. Review nutrition guidelines and diet progression following surgery. Review immediate post-operative and long-term surgical complications. Because the gastrointestinal tract or digestive tract is such a tract where all the vitamins, minerals, protein, carbohydrate, enzyme working. Okay, so if it is that particular portion has been removed, so we have to need a proper assessment. Is called the pre-surgical nutritional assessment or evaluation. That is very important before proceeding the surgery. So if we talk about the key surgery, we know the carbohydrate are the major key macronutrient. Protein is also a macronutrient and fat also macronutrient. But if we talk about the micronutrients, then we should talk about iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc, what are the vitamins like vitamin B12, B2, B6, these all. So that is very important. General criteria for weight loss surgery. BMI 35 to 40 with at least one comorbidities like DM, diabetes mellitus, or obstructive sleep apnea. BMI greater than 40 without comorbidities. Previous unsuccessful attempts at weight loss. Age should be 18 to 65 with few exceptions that has to be decided by the physician, the surgeon, and medically cleared for the surgery. What is the medications they are taking before putting the surgery? That has to be clear and clean picture that these are medications are going on, because in that cases in surgery maybe there's some medications is blood thinner, some blood thinner is going on. If the blood thinner is going on, that has to be reported to the doctor, because after operation if the blood thinner is going on, then a lot of bleeding can happen. So that has to be stopped by the doctor for the time being. So before surgery, all the things should be scrutinized and also monitoring very carefully. What are the pre-surgical evaluation? Prior to surgery, candidates should be carefully assessed by a specialized multidisciplinary team, including bariatrician and ND specializations in the care of the obese, surgeon, social worker or psychologist, dietitian, and the nurse. All are important role to play about the pre-surgical evaluation. What are the pre-surgical goals? Improvement of nutritional status, that is correct vitamin or nutrient deficiencies. Most common include iron, vitamin B12, and vitamin D. Achievement of better control of nutrition related comorbidities. Development of lifestyle and eating habits that will promote positive post weight loss surgery outcomes and weight loss maintenance. Promote 5 to 10% weight loss to reduce surgical risk. That has to be very carefully monitored. Now, what is pre-surgery nutrition education? That is very important, that pre-surgery nutrition education that has to cater to the patient or patient party. They have to know what are the pre-surgery nutrition education or evaluation. So behavior modification, self-care and lifestyle changes, self-monitoring, keeping a food journal, healthy food selections, eating behaviors, feed and the schedule, fluid, calorie and protein requirements, diet instruction stages 1 to 3, label reading, supplement or product information, vitamins and mineral requirements, and the exercise. This is all about pre-surgery nutrition education or evaluation. So the diet plan is designed to give you approximately 100 grams of carbohydrate per day. It is low in fat, though it depends on the some extent of the foods you choose, and moderate in protein. The energy value of the diet is between 800 to 1000 kilocalorie per day. So energy should be 800 to 1000 kilocalorie per day. Now this is also the prior to bariatric surgery. I will do the pre-surgical. Number one is the age, sex, and race. Race means it's Asian or non-Asian. Dietary history, frequency, volume, preferences of restaurant food, any eating disorder as binge eating. This should also tell us about the patient's eating habit like Nibbler or Grazer. Emotional connect with the food is assessed. A food diary maintained for a week is especially very helpful. Weight history, the weight in the last few years, any weight loss success of resurgence is method. medical history and disease, chronic medication, especially causing weight gain, is noted. Surgical history and history of previous weight loss surgeries is noted. Now we're talking about the surgical history. Uh, so surgical history, definitely there any history of previous weight loss surgery is noted. Addiction, that is very important, to alcohol and smoking is noted. Food addiction is also assessed. And the personal history, motivation levels and willingness to change food habits is analyzed. Activity level is assessed. What are the clinical examination that has to perform? Number one, BMI, body mass index, waist circumference, waist hip ratio, condition of skin, hair, and nails. That is a clinical examination that has to be taken care of. Now we're talking about the laboratory test. What are the laboratory tests? Hemoglobin, PCV, iron, ferritin, TIBC, total iron binding capacity, serum vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin, serum folate, and serum vitamin D. In addition, for the malabsorption procedures, the following should be added: vitamin A and vitamin E. So, nutrition education, patient is counseled as to what to expect from the procedure, the common complication, and what is expected from the patient as far as healthy eating and lifestyle is concerned. It is more important to carry these on even in the flow. This is very important picture, students. This you have to be, see very carefully, because this is the picture where you can get all the details. Okay. How come? If we talk about our alimentary tract or gastrointestinal tract, first one is our mouth. So in from mouth, there are particular enzyme, salivary amylase secrete. Then esophagus, then stomach. There is no enzyme in esophagus, then stomach, stomach gastric juice, pepsin, and HCl, hydrochloric acid. Then duodenum is a pancreatic juice, bicarbonate enzyme. Okay, that is important. Then bile, then intestinal brass border enzyme. And what are the important nutrients? Iron, magnesium, zinc, glucose, galactose powder, vitamin C, thiamine, riboflavin, pyridoxine, vitamin thiamine means vitamin B1, riboflavin B2, pyridoxine B6, folic acid, and protein. That is very important. In ileum part, their protein should be there, and also vitamin A, D, E, K. These four vitamins and all are fat soluble vitamins. Fat is there and cholesterol is there. So in that cases, if we talk about the parts of the colon, they are sodium, potassium, vitamin K formed by the bacterial action, and H2. So these all are present. Vitamin C, vitamin B are water soluble. Vitamin A, D, E, K are the fat soluble. So this is all together a alimentary canal picture. Students have to understand that if the surgery happens, there may be gastric bypass, mini gastric bypass, Roux and Y operation. So there must be these vitamins malabsorption after the surgery. So what will be the post-surgery nutrition guideline? Dietary consult to ordered upon admit, complete nutrition assessment, review diet progression with the patient, work with inpatient team, and identify and minimize complication post-operative. For all procedures, patient will follow the same diet. Diet advanced from NPO, none per mouth, to stage 1 bariatric diet on post-op day 1. Okay, so now we'll come step by step. Post-surgical diet progression, stage 1 water, typically start day of surgery, duration 1 day, no straws. Nursing staff to administer 1 ounce water per hour via medicine cup. Instruct patient to sip slowly and stop if feeling full or nauseous. None diet of diet office will be instructed not to be sent meal trays. All medications to be administered in liquid or chewable form, intravenously fluid until tolerating liquid. Patient to begin tracking fluid intake on patient intake diary provided by the healthcare team. So there should be a person is there, they can take on monitoring on regular basis. Now, what could be the early post-operative care? A liquid or non-surgery meal is initiated in the early postoperative care, and then the patient is allowed to progress to a puree diet and then to a normal solid diet under the guidance of the nutritionist. Hydration is very important. The patients are educated regarding chewing food properly and eating and drinking slowly. They are advised not to drink while eating. The protein intake is individualized. Whoever a minimum 60 grams and up to 1.5 gram per kg ideal body weight per day is recommended. Patients are advised to avoid concentrated sweets to prevent dumping. So now you have to understand what is dumping or dumping syndrome. What is dumping syndrome basically? Dumping syndrome is a group of symptoms most likely to develop after surgery involving removal of all or parts of stomach or stomach has been surgically bypassed to help lose weight. Dumping syndrome occurs when the undiagnosed contents of stomach and transported or dumped into small intestine too rapidly. Common symptoms include abdominal cramps and nausea. So what will be the symptoms? The symptoms will be nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain or cramps, diarrhea, dysentery, dizziness, lightheadedness, bloating, fatigue, heart palpitation, or rapid heart rate. So in that way, you have to maintain the dumping syndrome. Nutritional supplements or clinical food and medications for associated comorbidities are started as soon as permissible. The dosage of the supplements is given below. A chewable table is preferably to begin with it. Iron and calcium supplements should not be given together. They should be consumed at least 2 hours apart. Tablets can be ingested after crushing or in liquid form. Chewable tablets are desirable. Extended release drugs to maximize absorption and are avoided. So what is the post-surgical diet prescription? Start post-op day 1, duration 1 to 2 days. Non-carbonated beverage, aerated drink without calorie, sugar as caffeine, include both sugar-free, ice pops, gelatin. These all should be included. Priority is hydration. Instruct to sleep slowly and stop if feeling full or nauseous. Avoid straws. Will receive 3 ounces of bariatric clear fluid 3 times a day on milk. So instruct to sip 2 to 4 ounce bariatric clear fluid per hour between meals will be expected to track intake on the patient intake diary. Stage 3, bariatric full liquid. So we know what is the difference between the clear fluid diet and the full fluid diet. That is very important in case of the therapeutic diet. That is clear fluid diet and full fluid diet. What is the difference between clear fluid diet, full fluid diet? Clear fluid diet basically this diet is the very clear and little or no residue. Okay, so there is no precipitation, but is the full fluid diet. Basically, in full fluid diet are designed the patients who are unable to chew. So it is definitely fluid should be there. Like milk is the example of the full fluid diet. So in case of full liquid, start post of day 1 to duration 2 to 4 weeks. Will receive 3 ounce bariatric full liquid 3 times a day on meal trays. Low fat protein rich liquid, low fat broth, low fat milk, protein shakes, light low fat yogurt, low fat cottage cheese, low fat pudding. Priority on hydration and protein intake, minimize loss of lean body mass, instruct to sip slowly and stop if feeling full or nauseous, instruct to sip 2 to 4 ounce fluids per hour between meals. Patients will go home on this stage. You may not see other stages unless patients are readmitted. So that is the discharge. Stage 4, soft and moist protein. Start 2 weeks post-op, duration 4 to 6 weeks as tolerated. Replace full liquids with the soft and moist protein foods. Avoid dry and tough meat. We should go for the tender meat, the tough meat. May need to continue with protein shakes to meet protein needs. Instruct not to drink fluids with meal. Wait 30 minutes before and after each meal to have favorites for the dumping center. If meeting protein goals, may add well-cooked soft fruits and vegetables. We'll begin taking chewable vitamin and mineral supplements. So these all supplements, protein shake, and all the clinical optimum nutrition should be guided by the physicians and the dietitian. Stage 5. Low fat, low sugar, high protein. Start 6 to 8 weeks post-op duration lifelong. Balance solid food diet with protein, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Can add raw foods as tolerated. What are the goals? 60 to 80 grams protein per day, 64 plus ounces fluid per day, including protein drinks sipped between meals. Continue to separate fluids from your meals. Can advance to supplements in tablet form if tolerated. Things to consider for the post-op or post-surgery. If having poor diet tolerance, temperature, if not tolerating ice chips or ice pops, consider warm liquids. Be aware that tolerance may vary between patients. Speed. Drinking too quickly, gulping, or drinking too much may cause pain and discomfort. Patients must avoid using straws and focus on taking very small sips from medicine cup. Straw will be going very, fast. So straw should be avoided. Administering medicines. Not all medications given in the hospital should be crushed or in liquid form. Chewable or liquid vitamins will begin 2 weeks post-op. So what is the immediate post-op nutrition consideration? So if we talk about the immediate post-surgical, that is the hydration status, that is very important. Food tolerance issues, that is also very important. Appropriate diet advancements, that is important. And address individual complaints, that is also very important. So basically, after bariatric surgery, many macro and micronutrient deficiencies may develop unless the patients are monitored, rigorously and under a strict nutrition supplementation regimen. Most of these deficiencies results from poor ingestion, malabsorption of available dietary nutrients, and changes in eating preferences. Although there are many studies of the nutritional status of patients post-surgery, the prevalence of malnutrition from different case series may vary considerably because of differences of population, supplementation regimen, and follow-up care. So that is very important, and diet advancement and individual complaint, because again I am saying patient to patient differ. Our all the fingers are not equal. That's why we have to understand each and every patient's tantrums and the individual complaint. Okay, so that is the post-op nutrition consideration. Common problem after all weight loss surgery. This is a very common problem. So number one is dehydration. Monitor for signs and symptoms of dehydration, as patients are at greater risk given their dietary restriction. Patients should strive for 64 ounces of liquid per day. Nausea, vomiting, eating too quickly or too much, drinking with meals or drinking too close to meals, not chewing thoroughly, or advancing the persistent vomiting can lead to thiamine deficiency. Encourage patients to drink and eat slowly, stop if feeling full or nauseous, and take small bites and chew their foods thoroughly. Common problem after gastric bypass surgery. So dumping syndrome, I have already discussed, usually occurs in 30 minutes following a meal. Undigested contents of the stomach are transported or dumped into the small intestine too rapidly. Symptoms may be similar to the flu and including nausea, sweating, bloating, abdominal cramps, diarrhea. Okay, so these all are the basically symptoms. But if we symptomatically, like the earlier dumping syndrome and the late dumping syndrome. So basically, if with the 15-30 minutes following a meal, then may include nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, cramps, diarrhea, dizziness, lightheadedness, bloating, fatigue, heart palpitation, rapid heart rate. But if you are talking about the later dumping syndrome, then sweating, weakness, shakiness, fainting, mental confusion, diarrhea, these are the things. So diarrhea definitely also an individual problem. Some patients can develop post-operative lactose intolerance. Symptoms could include bloating, abdominal cramp, excessive gas, and diarrhea. Treatment includes following a lactose-free diet. Definitely, the lactase enzyme is not there. That's why it's very difficult to digest lactose. So lactose-free diet should be recommended. Anatomical complication. There may be reason to suspect a possible surgical complication if a patient has persistent nausea, vomiting, and the abdominal pain. Now we're talking about the reactive hypoglycemia or postprandial hypoglycemia. It's a medical term describing recurrent episode of symptomatic hypoglycemia occurring within 4 hours after a high carbohydrate meal or oral glucose load in people who do not have diabetes. What is hypertonicity? Increased tension of the muscle mass. The muscle tone is abnormally rigid, hampering the proper movement. So this is all about, we are talking about the you know cases like the adverse event. Now we'll talk about the common nutrient deficiencies. So if we talk about the common nutrient deficiencies after the surgery, then there is a long list. So if we talk about the common nutritional deficiencies after the surgery, then there should be deficiencies like B1, B6, B12, folate, iron, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, vitamin zinc, protein, these all. Okay. So, and also after bariatric procedures, there calcium, zinc, malnutrition can occur. Gastric banding, except for folate, nutrition deficiencies are less commonly seen post-gastric banding. Sleeve gastrectomy, possible vitamin B12. Long-term outcome. Lifelong compliance with vitamin and mineral supplementation is very important and key nutrients to reduce the risk of serious nutrient deficiency. Self-monitoring intake and avoiding high-calorie food and beverages to prevent weight regain. Remaining connected with the post-bariatric surgery support group. It's not that once surgery has been done, so enter the life, you'll be free and doing a lot of goodies, foodies, abdominal lifestyle. No. The surgery is a procedure, but you have to maintain a proper disciplinary life with number one help of pediatrician, surgeon, dietitian, psychologist, other nurses, and also the proper logbook diary, diet diary, and the complications what you have, and with the help of nutraceuticals like vitamins and mineral supplementation, protein shake, these all are the things. So that is, all about the bariatric surgery. So we have to, take care of the things. But follow up, again, I am saying follow up is very important. What are the follow up steps we have to remember? The 8 steps we have to remember. Number 1, changes in weight loss, waist circumference, and BMI. Number 2, clinical evidence for the following complication: leak, bleed, sepsis, hernia, reflux, obstruction. Number 3, assessment of comorbidities, their resolution, and the medications needed. Comorbidities mean diabetes, cardiovascular problem, hypertension. Assessment of nutritional status, both clinically and by lab test. Clinical evaluation of nutritional status is done by noting the condition of skin, hair, nails, eyes, and mouth. The lab tests are mentioned in the table below. Addition, if any is noted, are strongly discouraged alcohol interferes with the absorption of nutrients and may exacerbate deficiencies. Dietary habits and compliance are noted. Patient is educated regarding adequacy of protein and fiber intake. The status of physical training is noted and activity encouraged. Compliance to supplementation, again I'm saying, is noted and is very important and also emphasized. So thank you so much. What are the resources I have been used? That is American Society for Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery, El Ali's et al. ASMBA's Allied Health Nutritional Guidelines, Surgery Obesity Related 2008, Bariatric Surgery, Dana Island and Mount Auburn Weight Management Center, and specially thanks to Nutrition, Obesity, and Bariatric Surgery book by Dr. Sarfaraz Dalil Beg and Dr. Aparna Mukhopadhyay. Thank you so much.